The Bridging Project came about as a result of work undertaken by Children's PlayLink several years ago. We have a team of development workers that support out-of-school clubs, and suddenly realised that more and more were being asked to include children with disabilities or additional needs, and realised that there was no support for the staff. And very often staff are a little bit nervous about including children that they've no experience of working with. Children's PlayLink applied to the big lottery for funding to employ an inclusive play advisor. Here I am. The first task I had to undertake was to find out how many of the out-of-school clubs in South Gloucestershire were including disabled children and what support, if any, they felt they needed. So my first few months in post were spent visiting all the clubs to introduce myself and to meet the children and the staff teams. I found that the clubs that were already including disabled children were doing really well, and there's some very good practice out there. Some of the clubs that had no experience of including disabled children were actually quite nervous and had lots of misconceptions about what would be involved. With the Every Child Matters agenda and my being able to make them aware of the Disability Discrimination Act, more clubs felt that they could take on the challenge of including a disabled child. So we set up lots of training sessions and activities and support meetings to make sure everything was in place before the children arrived.
Okay, I felt that when we were first asked to have children that were disabled, I was quite apprehensive because of the even though you've got the qualifications in it and you know the general knowledge of it, having actually dealing with children themselves on a day-to-day basis is a little bit different. So, but I found that the information and the backing we've had from PlayLink, especially from Nikki, who kept contact with us, and I could ring any time in the day, you know, to get information, and the interaction with the parents and that we had, that Nikki was involved with as well, I thought was fantastic. We couldn't have done it without them. We found that having disabled children has made a fun place for them to be with all the other children involved. For example, today we've had baked bean fights and banana fights, which they've loved, and all the children have interacted together as one. So there's been no discrimination of any sort at all. They're all the same. And it's fun to see the smiles on their faces. It's fun to see the staff smiles on their faces, and all the children and the parents come in and know they've all interacted, and it's been fabulous. So I encourage anybody to go and have disabled children in, get in contact with PlayLink and get some of the children in because they love it, makes a difference to their lives. Parents can have a bit of the break, and the other children, all the interaction is fabulous.
Well, coming to Play Scheme here has really been part of our holidays for quite a while, and it's really just about Ian carrying on his normal life, coming along, yeah, to play with all his friends here, and just to come and play and be with other children. It gives him a chance to get rid of mum for a bit and do something a bit more interesting and maybe a little messier than he might get up to at home. And it gives me a chance to get on with things that don't actually stop in the school holidays, like I paid the car tax this morning, things that he wouldn't terribly want to be involved in.
And it didn't really take a lot to get things changed. It was really you know, just like you say, staff training, giving them the confidence to take you know, children with disabilities and making them feel that they could you know, provide an enjoyable time for them here, really, and that they didn't need that much different from every other child.
I was going to say that's the thing. They enjoy doing all the same things as everybody else. You enjoyed throwing baked beans around this morning and things, didn't you, Ian? I think Jamie definitely did. Jamie enjoyed throwing baked beans around, and you know, even playing on the Wii with help, they can do it. And the other children are actually much better than the adults at accepting that they can get on and get involved.
In addition to the support and advice that I give to clubs, I also manage a budget to provide a buddy. A buddy is an additional member of staff that acts as a personal assistant to the youngster with a disability to support them in the setting. Buddies often work well if they're an existing member of the club staff that we can just give additional training, so they already know the setup, they already know the staff team, and they're more able to include the child. A successful buddy is one that's able to meet the needs of the child without sitting on their shoulder the whole time, so able to allow the child to integrate and play with the other children, but be on hand at all times to support them if they need it. They usually also meet the personal care needs of the children, for example, taking them to the loo or helping with feeding.
I think being a buddy to Andrew in my life has made a massive difference. Like, it's so nice to be so close and like connected to one kid, and to see him being happy. Like, when I first came, he really struggled like interacting with other kids and like playing happily, and just seemed really frustrated a lot of the time and quite angry. And because I'm quite a silly, laid-back person, I think I brought that out of him more. Yeah, I am, aren't I? I think that's been really nice. And just seeing the difference in him now, like, you can just see him happily playing where he wouldn't have done that before. So, Andrew, do you think that since we've been together, you've been able to play better with other children?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why do you think that is? What difference has it been?
A lot of difference, because since you've been here, it's actually changed a lot.
People want to play with you more now, don't they? Do you think that people play with you more like people that didn't play with you before? Like different people?
Yeah. Different people have actually wanted to play with me.
For buddies that work with children with more complex needs and may need hoisting or changing or tube feeding, we arrange professional training, as they need to be trained to professional standards in order to carry out healthcare procedures. What training have you had to help you in your role as buddy?
We've had manual handling training and epilepsy awareness, but we've always got each other or other members of staff to support us when we're doing manual handling.
Well, because I've been here a little bit longer, I've had lots of other bits as well. I've done some Makaton training, and I've had a behaviour management course, and obviously the tube feeding training, which we both had as well. So there's lots of different, there's always something going on that helps you on your way.
Do you find that you can always contact me if you have any training issues or any training needs arise?
We're always in at some point during every single holiday, so we've always got a chance to talk to you if there's any problems with any new children or with anything else that's come up.
As well as working with the buddies in the clubs, I also work very closely with the families and like to build relationships with the families, so visit them at home on a regular basis. The feedback from parents has been really positive. I've been called a fairy godmother, although it's not for anything I've done particularly, it's just been able to coordinate the whole team and make things slot into place for one particular child. Parents report that children have made friends, found independence, been able to attend after-school clubs and community activities that they hadn't been able to in the past. People in the village know the children now, they're not hidden away. Really positive aspects to family life. Some parents have even been able to go back to work as a result of their children going to after-school club for a couple of afternoons a week.
We're going to play schemes, one in Patchway or some in Winterbourne. I thought they're really happy to come along and just have fun without all the activities, go on trips or do cooking or do activities what you like doing. I feel happy and I'm really confident in my life because I feel excited coming here to come along and just play the new activities, meet new people and chat to them.
Under the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child, all children have a right to play, and we know that some children need more support in order to access play. Play enables children to learn, to make friends, take risks, meet their potential, basically, and we need to do everything we possibly can to make sure every child has that opportunity.
Without inclusive play and without the support that we receive from Nikki, life certainly wouldn't be as comfortable as it is now. Facilitating inclusive play, that's helping Andrew develop those social skills that children with his condition don't tend to have, but who need to learn so that they can actually take an active part in what is seen as a neurotypical world.
Seeing how much better and how much more controlled he is with his behaviour allowed us to help him to join the local football team, and he's now one of their star players, which is absolutely fantastic. That's immeasurable how much better life is.
For the future, I think it's very important that the needs of individual children are met in schools, which we have to do by law anyway, but also in organisations such as school clubs, because those children have that entitlement as much as any other child does. And if our experience is anything to go by, then all children can end up having a happy time when they're in after school clubs.
So what does the future hold? In an ideal world, by the time my contract ends at the end of the year, I will have been so successful that all the clubs in South Gloucestershire will be able to include disabled children without needing support or training. In reality, I think 3 years is a very short time to get a new project up and running, and it would be fantastic if we could have sustained funding in order for me to continue to support the clubs and to provide the training opportunities for the staff and the buddies, so that all the children in South Gloucestershire who chose to go to a mainstream play setting would have the opportunity to do so. Inclusion means nobody is left out. So what we're working towards, parents, staff, children and inclusion officers, is a world where inclusion isn't really thought about, it just happens.